GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand, presents the Galatta Plus Mega Pan India Directors Roundtable 2024, powered by Q&Q Pharmacy, quality healthcare at affordable price. Associate sponsor, Darling, 2025 New Year deals, latest smartphones at lowest EMI, Jensen and Nicholson Paints, Italian designer finishes from Jensen and Nicholson Paints, location courtesy, Mitro Bar and Cafe, Bandra, Mumbai. Hello everyone, welcome to the Galatta Plus Mega Pan India Directors Roundtable. I hope I got that right. Thank you so much for being here and representing the various industries, and I'm especially pleased that we have Srijitmukherji here from the Bengali film industry, which we don't seem to know much about. We'll start with you because you made a biopic about Mrinal Sen this year called Padatik last year, and it's still doing the festival rounds.
Yeah, it is.
What would Rinalda say if he saw the Indian film industry today?
Well, the first thing he would possibly say is that can we cut down on the gloss and concentrate more on the stories?
Okay.
The second thing he would say is that can we have more indie filmmakers, because he was the poster boy of indie filmmaking, you know, just taking a camera, getting onto the streets with no permissions, nothing, and in that chaos he would, cull out a narrative which would last the ages. I think the thing which Rinalda would celebrate most is the indie spirit, which, by the way, is something which I feel it can still be there in big budget films as well. So I think the indie spirit is not necessarily kind of at conflict with the budget or the stars or how it is mounted. So I think he would celebrate that, he would push for that, and I think he would love a lot of the films which, my esteemed friends and colleagues have made, and he would have had fun, actually.
Yeah. This is a centenary, right?
The last year was.
The last 2023 was.
Yeah.
So that's when the three films based on him came out, and yours being the last. So yeah. So Rima, Superboys of Malegaon had its premiere at TIFF. I want you to tell me, what is the advantage of having an Indian film premiered at TIFF? Is it that the audience gets to know more about it? Is it that internationally it gets more of a visibility? What is the advantage?
Well, with Superboys of Malegaon, Tiger Baby XL, it's been a very long-standing dream to make a crossover film that we can release in theatres outside of the Indian diaspora. So, the TIFF screening, I'm hoping, I don't know for sure, that's the first time I went to TIFF. I'm hoping that, yes, it will give it some kind of push, with audiences that are outside of the Indian diaspora.
Right. Lijo, you've taken your films to festivals as well.
Yeah.
Have they helped in any way? Because, you get a lot of films with those, the laurel wreaths saying it's played at this festival, and how does that help you?
I feel it's more to do with the visibility, I guess. And when you go to a festival in a different place, it definitely opens your film to a larger and wider audience for sure. Yeah. And maybe the right kind of audience for your cinema also will be your audience in the theatre. And definitely when you tell a story from your culture, and you'll be really keen to see what people from different countries and different places, how do they see it, they perceive it. That's a very important thing, I guess.
Have you noticed anything very interesting about the way you intended a film to be and the way some particular audience perceived it?
See, we screened Angamali Diaries in the Korean festival, Busan festival. So, Korea is a place where pork is a great delicacy, and it was really enjoyed by the entire crowd in the. So that is a kind of. So then you suddenly realize, okay, it's the same very race, it's the same very idea of human being and emotions and everything is
And
the
food.
same. Yeah,
And food, yeah.
It's very same.
Right.
Yeah, especially in Busan, you get that.
Yeah,
I remember I had my screening of Bajrangi over there, and the whole narrative of a divided country, it just struck such an amazing chord with them.
Right, yeah,
And,
now I'm seeing
it
that.
was one of those, you know, to answer that, I think it makes a big difference to a smaller film that doesn't have a marketing budget. Because the moment you're at a festival, it gives you a certain visibility and a positioning. Whereas with a big film with a big marketing budget, it doesn't make such a big difference to them if they're at a festival. Because they anyway have made enough noise and have been able to penetrate markets with the sheer budget that they have at their
Films which
disposal.
thrive on word of mouth,
Right.
those are the films which actually benefit from the laurels.
From
I
the
think,
festival.
To take the other point of view, do you think something like Bajrangi benefited simply because it exposed an audience to an Indian film that they might not have otherwise seen? Is that something?
So, with a film like Bajrangi, see, a mainstream Hindi film will never really travel festivals pre-release.
Right.
No producer is going to risk that, you know, the cost of piracy or just they don't want people talking about a film before it releases. So, a mainstream film always travels post-release, which is what happened with Bajrangi. And yes, and then once it was released and it did the rounds over here, and then when it started traveling to festivals, especially like Busan, then it does open up a lot of new markets, people coming in, watching it, curious about, you know, Bollywood, because they don't get to see mainstream Bollywood in these kind of festivals.
Right.
So when
But Gully Boy played at Berlin.
yes,
So that was before it premiered at Berlin.
Yeah, it premiered.
Right.
the week before.
Yeah, but it was still an advanced screening.
So did Gangubai, I think.
Gangubai, I think.
So
yeah.
they do
Gangubai
it,
premiered in
if it coincides with the week of your release, a
Yeah.
lot of the Bollywood mainstream films will do it. But you, like for example, my first film, which I did for Yash Raj, Kabul Express, that's the only Yash Raj film that actually premiered at TIFF 9 months before release. You know,
I love
because
the film, by the way.
we debuted together same year. But so that was a small film, not a typical sort of mainstream film. So they could take that risk with that. But otherwise, a big budget, big star film, they'll only show at a festival if it's just a week before release. Like I premiered 83 at Red Sea 4 days before the India release.
Right.
So you can do that within the week, but not if it's a month or two in advance.
Right. So
Yeah, I also think it depends on, what kind of target audience you're trying to hit.
Yeah.
If you are wanting a slightly more global kind of release outside of an Indian diaspora, I think it makes
Yeah,
sense.
then it makes a big difference.
Right. So from that we jump to films that really clicked with the audiences locally. Not that these films didn't, but Manjumalboys, Amaran, Luckybaskhar, 3 big hits of the year. Dulquer told me something very interesting about Luckybaskhar. He said you came to give him a narration. You told him 4 highlight scenes and how you are going to shoot them. Are these the scenes that you think will reach the audience the best? How do you?
So whenever we go for a narration, the attention span of any person would be maximum hour or 1.5 hour. So in this 1.5 hour, we have a 2.5 hour or 3 hour story. We have to compress it into say 1 hour or 45 minutes for the first half, and you better have a quicker.
He's smiling. I think he identifies with it.
Also, I think he's being very generous with 1.5 hours. And as you said, most people, most actors is 20 minutes.
I was thinking.
So they have that attention span of 1 hour. So you pick those scenes, maybe 2 in the first half, 2 in the second
Which
half.
would entice them.
Yes. So you, while writing itself, these are the scenes that are going to resonate with audience. So that's purely luck. If it really
I'll take
does
tips
resonate
from
with
you,
the audience,
because
that's
I'm a complete
luck.
failure when I narrate. So I'll take the tips.
I think I've narrated 2 sequences in the first half and 2 sequences in the second half, and the climax being the main thing. And he loved it. By first half, I think he was sure that he's going to do the film, and he was asking me, what is the budget that you have in mind? Is the producer okay? He was doing the math. So by then, he actually was talking about the numbers and how you're going to land the film and all. So the second half, by the time I started the narration, he already fixated, okay, I'm going to do this film, but I just want to hear the second half.
Right. But there is some value to that, because if you choose 4, like let's say highlight scenes, those, by narrating it to someone, you're also kind of, if they get the same reaction that you did, it's probably good bet that it's working for somebody else the way it did for you as well, right?
That gives
it's
a
also
lot of
reassurance,
confidence. Yes.
right? So Rajkumar with and you guys had big successes this year with, I would say, relatively oddball themes. Like I don't know how to put it in a way, because for him, you're taking a big Tamil hero like Sivakarthikeyan in a known story and killing him at the end. It's an unusually structured story. People don't die at the end of movies. Heroes don't typically die at the end of movies, and that's proved to be a blockbuster in Tamil cinema. So that's interesting. And you took like this long forgotten incident about people trapped in the Guna caves, and that became like this sensation. Are these further proof that there are no rules about what the audience wants to watch? If you just narrate it compellingly and interestingly, the audience will watch anything?
Yeah, that's really true, because there is no set formula or structure for any movie. So if you look at this year, 5 films that came out of Malayalam, like 5 are different genres. One is a occult based thing, one is a rom-com, and one is a survival thriller. So there is no set standards or formulas for success, I think. That's what my understanding is.
Right. Whether it's Janeman, your first film, or this, do you specifically keep a youth audience in mind? Because there's a lot of young energy. Does it come from you, or is it also a question of like I want this is my main audience, I'm going to, this is the...
I never think of youth audience when I write. I think of audience as a collectively, and I write what entices me as an audience, and that
makes
because
all the sense.
Yeah.
I'm a very normal audience. I go to every movie and enjoy it. Sometimes I don't enjoy it, so I always look what doesn't work and what. So I structure it that way.
Yeah. And how did you approach Amaran? Like, you are inspired by this real life war hero, and you're trying to mount a big budget film on that. So did you also have the same narration problem, or?
Firstly, hello everybody. I've watched almost all your films except 1 or 2, and from Lijo, Reema, Kabir sir, and all of these people. First of all, I'm very glad to be in this forum. I've met all of you through some common platform. Thank you, sir, for that. And about the smirk, about the smile that I had when he was saying, there are people who read scripts also, sir. There are actors who read scripts also, and there are people who gives only 5 minutes sometimes. But I've always gone with a full script. I always insist on narrating fully. So far, I've made 2 films. Both these films I've narrated to several people. I've always narrated the full story, because if we narrate only particular 4 highlights or moments, then it seems like a trailer to me. It's not the full film. I would say we should always, people who are investing, all the stakeholders like actors, actresses, or even supporting characters, I think they should know. Sometimes I'll insist, I would like to narrate fully, please. And otherwise, I don't have the mood to even go out and pitch my script.
Right.
Because they'll have to connect to every scene of the film. They should know where they stand. And even to Sivakarthikeyan, when I narrated Amaran, just like how he said, at the end of the first half, when I said intermission, he was already for it. He said, I'll do this. But still I said, no, you listen to the second half. And even before getting that time for narration, I told him, it's a biopic. It is about a martyred soldier, and the hero dies in the end. He said, it's okay, you come and narrate. And he was shooting for a song at that point of time. So he was drained. So usually song shoots, those are heavy songs. And he was drained when he came to listen to the story. So it was beyond 9 p.m. in the evening. So after first half, he said, I'm okay. I said, no, you still listen to the second half. At the end of the second half, he was completely okay. I didn't even tell him who's the producer of the film. Later, after he said he was about to say okay, then I told him Kamal Haasan sir is the producer of the film. And he said, I need 2 days just to process. And then next day morning, he said he wants to act in the film. Then it happened, sir. So that's why I was smiling. Sometimes it's not like that. But there are actors who also insist. I think I have worked in this film, Tupaki. Vijay sir, I don't know about him now, but back then, at least 5 years back, till then he was always, he will insist, I will go into a set only if I know the full script.
Right.
He always says whether it's bad or good, that doesn't matter, but I need to know the entire film's screenplay, only then I'll walk into a set.
Right.
So there are actors like that too. So I think it's a mix of everything. And there are some, Sai Pallavi, she always prefers to read. In our case, I think she read it first and then she wanted to listen to the narration.
Right.
So I think there is every...
So Vignesh, you have a very unique sensibility, a very dark / sly, wry comedy kind of sensibility, and you were supposed to actually have a film release this year, which was with Ajit, and that didn't happen. It created a lot of buzz because, of course, in Tamil Nadu, anything with any of the big stars creates a lot of buzz, whether it's this way or that way. How did you process that, and did that affect the way others think of you as a director capable of delivering a big project?
First of all, hi. So I'm the only person here who didn't release a movie this year and I'm sitting here.
But you were supposed to. Yeah.
But that's not valid, but it's okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
So the thing is, as you said, I'm trying to have a genre for my own self, like, which makes sense to me. And I've tried it in my other movies and it has worked for me. So when I want to, for example, Ajit sir loves Nanum Rowdidan. So the first meeting that I had with him was, he said, I don't watch a lot of movies, but then this movie, I've watched it many times and I really love the way you've done it. And I'm more interested in the Parthiban's character in it, that kind of a dark character. So something on those lines, you can make a script and we'll do a movie. This is somewhere when I write lyrics, like I wrote a song for Gautam Menon in Ennai during that time. Okay. So we had this conversation and later he kept his word and he called me and he said, let's do a film, you do it in your style. So this is one part. But the producer, they have a completely different idea. Like, they have a set rules of what works, what doesn't work with the superhero kind of an image. When we have heroes like this on board. So it's always a very big mismatch between the intention of a director like me and them, because they have set theories which I don't understand, but the moment I take my pen and write, I first break all those things and only I'll write.
Right.
For example, see, when I saw Avesham, my script was somewhere in that zone. Like, for me to imagine something like that with Ajit sir, it would have been a very different movie with all the mass elements. But when I narrated, so the producer had this comment to say, he's saying, like, he's saying, why is it so humorous? Why there is no, I want more emotion and some message for the audience. I said, message, something like, tomorrow.
No, the mismatch between producers and directors are universal. Mismatch between producers and directors.
Yeah. That is where Rinala would have come in.
Yeah, I think the only solution is to also produce
I will not have big budgets.
That's the only
because
solution.
The moment you have big budgets, the interference also goes up.
Yeah, that's there in the movie.
Yeah, he was very, very clear that I would like to make films at a low budget, because then no one comes and tells me, do this, don't do this, put more, emotion.
That's why the previous film, Kathiravan and Kadal, I produced it myself. Because I didn't want to narrate it to anyone. I just said, okay, end of the day, they are just working on the combination. So I said, Vijay Sethupathi, Nayanthara, Samantha, Anirudh music, this much number. Producer gave me the number. He doesn't even know the story. He came for the first copy. Because every time I started narrating a man in love with two girls, they'll stop. No. Let's do something which is like, not even, these guys are lucky, 1 hour, 20 minutes. I'm 2 minutes.
I'm married, in love with two girls, stop.
That's all. Two girls, he's like, he falls in love with a girl during the day and then has a relationship during the night. It keeps going on. No. Something for family audience. So, but what happens is that becomes a challenge for me, where I feel that I will make this film and I will make families sit and watch it without having, without they should not be
Embarrassed or
restless
something,
while
yeah.
watching this film. And end of the day, it made money. Everything was fine with the film. Like, I wanted to make that film, and I made it like how I want. That's it. But when it comes to heroes, I'm a person who, if I get the opportunity to make it like exactly how I want to make it, then I'm okay. Otherwise, I can't risk my entire thing and make something which is neither here nor there, and then the fall is very big. But now I'm okay. I'm doing a film again. This film was also a dropped film.
Which one?
Love Insurance Corporation, because it was a high budget movie, something happening in the future, things like that, and same producers. In 2018, it was about to go for shoot with Sivakarthikeyan at that point of time. And we have a very interesting connection also, which I'll come back later. But it didn't happen because the film is set in future. And the producer is telling me, see, the budget is high because the film is set in future. Why can't you make it in the present? Like if someone comes and tells you, Bahubali, it's in period time, why can't we make it as a drama which happens? Like how, after that meeting, I didn't even want to go there. So this is the problem. So I'm trying to produce my own films, but I don't have more than 10 to 15 crores.
Right.
Oh, that means actually then we can make 5 Bengali films in that.
But I made Pebbles.
Yeah.
Pebbles, which
Yeah, of
got
course.
the
Of course.
Yeah.
Tiger Award. So when you're talking about the festival, so that my taste, where I satisfied that part of my taste by producing such films, by backing indie movies, and that's another reason which I really enjoy.
Right.
Also.
And since you're talking about festivals, when we met at Cannes, you said you had this idea for a mega historical project. Again, you haven't been able to.
No, that is the futuristic script which I had
Oh, that's-
written.
so that
That's
was
the
what-
film I'm doing now.
Which now?
See, end of the day, I'm not changing my scripts. Whatever I've written, whatever I want to make, it's somehow getting made. That is what I'm seeing every day. So these are not wasted efforts.
Yeah.
A script, any day it's going to get made if we have the conviction and we have sincerely worked on it. So the script which I've done for Sir also, I don't think I change even because the balance is so correct. When I get a producer who understands that, automatically that film will get made. So that's what I'm also waiting for maybe in the future.
Yeah. So, Lijo, you had an interesting film this year with Mohanlal, one of the biggest stars in Malayalam, malaikottaivaaliban.
Yeah.
And for a while, the reception was very disturbing for you. And now you look quite happy, so I think you're over it.
Just for 3 weeks.
That's for 3 weeks, right? But you said something very interesting when after people started talking about that's not what the movie is and what has Lijo done and all that. You said it is not a director's job to live up to certain expectations.
Yeah.
I like that, but when somebody becomes a brand, like lijojosepellissery is a brand, before, I think there's a pre-Angamali Diaries period when you could pretty much do whatever you wanted.
I have not claimed it.
No, but then I'm saying,
Yeah.
I think Reema would agree, because the minute Angamali Diaries came out, everybody suddenly was sitting up and, wow, this is something interesting.
Yeah.
Once you become a brand, can you really prevent expectations from mounting on a director? And opening this out to all of you.
Yeah. See, the idea itself is what I normally regularly feel is that we should not be catering to the expectations of the audience. It's the other way around, according to me. It should be we should be the ones who should make films in such a fashion that it changes the idea of what they want to watch. So it's a very, it's always it's in question, this kind of an idea, whether we should make according to the expectations of the audience, or whether we should create such a film in such a fashion that when they change their taste slowly into a better film watching space. So I feel in both ways it works. This is my way of doing it. So I
think
don't think there is anything
that's
wrong.
more like a byproduct, because I feel that, he was also saying that our primary audience is ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very
So that's so when we sit for the final mix, in the theatre, in the darkness, there's just one audience member, that is ourselves. And we do not have any secret formula to the alchemy that what will work and what will not work. So we can know that, okay, I want to make something which I would want to watch, paying out of my own pocket. And once you make that, that you will change over time as well. So that you is not a homogeneous, static. So, I mean, when we are shifting film to film, our aesthetics are also changing. We are evolving as human beings. So what we make, that necessarily will not pander or should not, according to me, pander to the box in which we have been boxed. Okay, Kabirkhan makes these films. Okay, Reema makes these films. Anurag makes these films. So the next film, it has to be like this. So that is a constant struggle, and that is a struggle which I also like. And success makes it even more difficult.
So
Then you are branded.
sorry to cut you.
Yeah.
So it's basically even the director or direction is not just to the film, also to the audience also. It's guiding them to the kind of ideas you should keep watching or you should move into. That is also, part of the direction, I feel.
Right.
So that way, I feel it's the right way to do it.
I think
Otherwise-
sorry.
No, I was just saying, otherwise, the industry being what it is, if you make one successful film, you'll end up making sequels for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
then you're stuck because you
Then
keep
you're stuck.
catering to the same market.
Right.
So that's
Yeah, I completely agree. When I'm writing, I write only for myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I like it, then another person has a chance of liking it.
Right.
It's very difficult to, I think, do some, imagine and get into somebody else's head.
Impossible,
yeah.
Like years ago, there was somebody who, in the Hindi film industry, Arindam Chaudhary. was his name?
Yeah.
So he actually went to colleges and he kind of researched what the audience wants to see. And he made a film, and that film flopped really badly.
Yeah.
So, you can't...
I think all of us make films that we want to watch.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm telling Kabir is, so Reema is known as Talash, the heart, that. So when suddenly she and Zoya make an Archie's, people see it as like you have betrayed our trust, kind of, kind of a thing. Because it's not like they are coming and saying, let us see what Reema and Zoya are doing with the Archies. They're like, but why are they doing this thing and then this?
See, that's a given.
Yeah.
More than Archie, I think that with Zoya and me, it's Zindagi Na Milegi Dobara.
Yeah.
Whatever you put up. If I put my dog's photo up also on IG, when is Zindagi Na Milegi 2? Is what comes from people.
Right.
But, you
can't fight beyond
can't
a point.
fight.
You can't
And,
fight that. Even the maestros, for example, if you talk about Satyajit Ray, inevitably someone will bring up Pothar Pachali, and then the rest of the filmography is not really looked into or explored. Like when I used to assist Aparna Sen, so I used to rave about 36 Chaurangile, and she sat me down and said, have I not made any other film apart from 36 Chaurangile? I said, no, but 36, special. And so some films become a curse. The most successful films, they become a curse for the filmmaker.
That's a very nice way to put it, yeah.
They battle themselves every time they go out to make another film. Kabir battles Bajrangi. Kabir makes a Chandu, Kabir makes a Kabul Express. People are saying, but wo sab theek hai, lekin Bajrangi...
I'm still battling Tiger.
Oh, you're still battling Tiger.
Why I'm not making spy films? I said, I don't want to make it. So they don't understand it. Like if you go to the social media, anything, I might post a photograph of a camel, they'll say, Arey, why are you not making Tiger?
Yeah, that's like the dog story, yeah.
So I made this very, very bizarre, surreal, esoteric film called Nirbak. After a string of successful, wholesome thrillers, which everyone was happy and families watching, young audience watching. The Nirbak dealt with 4 love stories. It dealt with necrophilia, it dealt with bestiality. And people almost took out voodoo dolls, saying that how could you do this to us? You can't do this. You are our poster boy of wholesome Bengali entertainers. So there's this ownership which is nice in a way, but also this tendency to box that you shall make this and this alone because what you have made has worked.
Right.
Now that working to challenge that and see whether other things can also work, like you said, that is a very problematic area.
When you deliver a mega movie like Manjumalboys, right? It's like, if I'm not mistaken, it's the highest grossing Malayalam film of all time now.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big cross, right? It's like it's like your second film becomes the highest grossing Malayalam film of all time. Does that put a pressure on you for your third film?
It does, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I don't think about it. Sometimes it rains upon me. Like, I don't know. So that what I'm going to make next is, I think it's the biggest challenge for me, because it is. I don't know. It is upon me. I have burdened myself with this, and I don't know. Like, to arrive at what to do next is pretty tricky for me right now, to be honest.
Have you decided what you're doing next?
I have decided, but next day morning I said, like, hey, it won't work. So it changes every time.
Right. You know, they actually say that, you know, when your first film's a hit like Janeman, then the second film becomes a difficult one, because they want to know if you can live up to the first film, or was it just a fluke. But now with this having happened, your third film is actually like, not that I'm putting pressure on you, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But still, it's just become this thing. And especially because today we have day by day reporting of box office numbers, and the first thing that most websites track is, will this beat Manjumalboys day one, something like that's going to be like how the average percent is going to be, and that's like a horrible thing to have to battle.
Exactly. Yes.
You know, because it's, I mean, talk about the quality of the film, that's different, but if you're going to talk about the box office, then you know.
I remember this ad where the guy is standing in front of a rocket and he's asking, "Is the mileage kitni hai?" So, you know, it's basically come down to that, you know.
That's why
I remember that.
That's a fantastic ad, you know.
Kitna deti hai?
Kitna deti hai? It kind of sums up the...
I safely landed with 2 flops initially. It was easier then.
It was easier then,
Takes
right?
the pressure off.
Right. So when a Chandu happens and the industry says it should do this much, it ends up doing less than what it should. Overall, yes, it's a safe proposition. What is the end takeaway then? Is it like, have you fallen in the industry's perception? Are you like, are they thinking, can we entrust this person with a big movie? How does it work that way? You know, like.
So I've actually never let myself go down that road.
Right.
When I've had the blockbusters, I've never let myself go down that road. When I've had films that have underperformed according to, you know, what people's expectations, I've never let myself. Because for me, it's really, I know the moment I hear a story, I can feel it in my bone that now I need to do everything to make this story. I go down that route. I have stayed away from sequels for a reason. They've never excited me. You know, there's a lot of pressure to say, make Bajrangi 2. I feel I still haven't got the story which will excite me to go there. So if I've taken this path of not playing safe and just trying to replicate some of my successful films, but get more excited by telling new stories, then I don't want to go down that route. You know, of course, I don't want anybody who's financing my film to lose their money. You know, it should definitely bring back the money with a little sort of a profit. But I don't really sit down and think, okay, is this going to be a difficult phase of my career? And for me, actually, success is not really about how much money you make. I think success, I think for all directors, is can you make the story you want to make, and are people
Yes.
ready to back you?
Absolutely.
Is an actor ready to come with you and a producer ready to come to make the story? If yes, I'm still successful.
Right.
The day somebody says, no, you're not making this, this is what you're going to make, that's the day my success is over. Then I'm just, I don't know, servicing an industry.
Absolutely.
And also, I think making the film that you set out to make.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
important.
that's important.
Very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. Now, I'm talking to, let's say, Rajkumar. You say you want to set up a production house, like you have a production house, but like Rowdy Pictures, and Venki, you. Now, Reema has a production house, so that makes it a little bit easier, I would assume, to kind of tell the stories that you want to tell.
Yeah, I mean, he was talking about a disconnect. I think that disconnect is not there.
Disconnect between
Producer and
Producer,
director.
director, right.
Yeah.
That's not there
The
because you're
disconnect,
the.
But having said that, I mean, even before Tiger Baby, I have to give Farhan and Ritesh credit for, I mean, I did 3 very different films for them. You know, Honeymoon to Talash to Gold. and they kind of went along with me, and
Right.
So I can't. There wasn't that much disconnect with them either.
Yeah.
But I think it definitely makes it easier, and you're not waiting for somebody else to believe in your vision.
Right.
You can. It's on you.
Because it's not always the case that the producer will be. I mean, sometimes a producer can be a great support system.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
in my case, my first 3 films, Aditya Chopra, again allowed me to make 3 very diverse films. From a Kabul Express to a New York to a Ek Tha Tiger, are very different films. But to get that kind of a support from him, I mean, I think it's sometimes you're lucky and you do manage to team up with a great producer who allows you to fly even higher.
So do you have plans? Do you have plans of setting up a production house?
I don't want to get
You
into
never
production.
want.
I don't
Why
want
is
to.
that?
Because till now, touch wood, I was really fortunate to get good producers who supported my vision, never questioned the budgets. Starting from my first, I have done like 5 films. So for the first 2 films is for one banner, and the next 3 films I've done to Sitara Entertainment's Nagavamsi. So especially with Nagavamsi, he never questioned the budget, the numbers. And especially when I was narrating this story, the Luckybaskhar, to so many people, to many actors, they were saying it's a very A-class film, so it won't do this much. So they were getting into the numbers. So I don't know, for some reason, last 15 years, it's all about numbers. People, numbers, it's all about numbers. When Sir told, he never gets into it. And interestingly, I've read a sports article, people started feeling Virat a failure when he started scoring 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
So because of his hundreds, people are expecting him to score 100 every match. So it's not necessary that our next film should cross the previous film's numbers. We can't outnumber ourselves. Even maybe, sorry to say, but even Rajamouli sir can't replicate every time. So for
But
some
I
reason,
would like to say, I feel this whole numbers game again. You can't judge the success of a film by, say, it's 100. It made 100 crores.
No, you can't.
But what if you spend 150 crores? You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think the success of a film is always relative to the budget.
Yeah.
yes.
And I was a trained economist before I joined filmmaking, and there are other factors like inflation. I mean, a film, if you're comparing across decades, there are inflation, there are ticket prices, there are thousands of factors. You look at footfall into ticket price gives you the revenue. So it's very difficult to compare, in terms of numbers, that this one was less successful, this one is more successful. So I think aesthetics is something which should be one of the leading parameters of any successful film.
And eventually, for me, if I like a film, it doesn't matter whether the number, just because I hear it made 300 crores, but I hated the film, I'm not going to start loving it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it made 300.
No,
Or if, for whatever it's worth, there was a film called Son Chiriya, which I loved. It didn't do so well, but I still think it was a great film.
Right.
So
Abhishek Chaube's.
yeah.
I think essentially it comes back to what Kabir is saying, that whatever your film makes, if the next film you can get a producer and do it the way you want to do it, that's good.
It's fine.
That's good enough revenue for the previous film.
Right. That's really what the
That's the
what
parameter.
model is.
That's-
It's become a habit for the fans, the social media, influencers, everybody to put that film's success with the numbers that it is making.
Right.
Films
It's
are,
also
I always, sorry sir, I always believe films are not made just for that weekend alone.
Yeah.
See, the attempt in malaikottaivaaliban was to gather all those great moments and great
Telugu, basically, actors or producers, they want happy endings. They want.
There's a style that people have in the South, there's a style that people have in Bollywood. You have to stick to the style that comes naturally to you. The moment as a filmmaker and try and replicate somebody's style, I'm waiting for failure.
I think only 10 successful films that you guys see, but there are hundreds of films that come.
But everybody trying to copy it got ruined.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
you really have to be, I think at the base of it is you have to be genuine to yourself.
Suddenly they said, congratulations. Why? What happened? No, your movie is sold for a very big price for a OTT, direct OTT release. I was like completely shocked and I wanted to fight. I fought and I made sure that the agreement was reversed, and then I brought it back to the theatre.
You do that with budgets like what is available in the Bengali film, and it is war. It is not like
GT Holidays, South India's #1 travel brand, presents the Galatta Plus Mega Pan India Directors Roundtable 2024, powered by Q&Q Pharmacy, quality healthcare at affordable price. Associate sponsor, Darling. 2025 New Year deals, latest smartphones at lowest EMI. Jensen and Nicholson Paints, Italian designer finishes from Jensen and Nicholson Paints. Location courtesy, Mitro Bar and Cafe, Bandra, Mumbai.